Joining us again is Aditya Wadwan. Aditya, apologies, we don't have Aditya, so I will move on to Ambassador Mark Sofer. I really want to look now at the promises that have been made by Al-Sharaa. He's promised, of course, to for those who have caused bloodshed, apologies, he has promised to take action. This is implying potentially outside of Syria's borders. Do you think that that is the case?
Well, first of all, before we enter into the Syrian, I completely agree with everything that the learned professor just mentioned. First of all, not only vis-a-vis Iran and the Middle East, but also vis-a-vis Syria. We don't know what's going to happen in Syria. There is an enormous amount of upheaval there. It's in transition from a dictatorship to a mess, it seems. So I don't know how one handles that, especially in the Middle East. And an enormous amount of factions inside of the country, each with differing aims and differing goals, and the Kurds and the etc. So really what we have now is a situation in which there's an attempt to build up some sort of state governance there. Now, this is frightening for us because it's literally on our northern border, and there are any type of al-Qaeda groupings there and other type of terrorist organizations. So we are taking the necessary precautions for our border. I'm not sure that the Turkish role there is a particularly positive role. They have an interest on one thing mainly and one thing alone, and that is the Kurdish, the destruction of Kurdish nationalism inside of Syria. But I think we have to wait and see and do our best to try and help the international community move Syria into some sort of unity, if that's possible, and some sort of post-dictatorship governance, which I think can only be positive for the Middle East. And I think the first signs we're already seeing, which is good, is the fact that the Iranians are no longer there. They've run away. Their boots are no longer on the ground. They don't have the possibilities of arming the Hezbollah or, in fact, the different types of groupings within Syria. So I think that it might be positive if the world, the global international community, takes the bull by the horns and tries to move Syria into a more forward-looking mode. I think the Gulf world is helping a lot. The Saudis, the UAE, etc., will be very important actors in this particular scenario, and so will the United States. But it remains to be seen. Everything is in abeyance right now.
Professor Nalapat, there have also been announcements from the Al-Sharaa regime that they're going to look at privatisation and cutting public sector jobs. With the instability in the country, what impact could this have?
Look, if words could have an impact in the absence of action, it would have a great impact. The fact is that after the US attack on al-Qaeda elements, which frankly is very welcome because the Biden administration was being rather soft so far these elements in the north of Syria were concerned, and that has created a situation where some of these elements have proliferated. So I think President Sharaa is worried that that attack may come closer to home. And that's why he's making the right noises so that individuals who are apologists can then take up his cause. The fact of the matter is, if you look at his background, it's completely extremist. And very frankly, I, at least for one, am not going to hold my breath to see him have a complete change of heart and become a liberal Democrat. I think Syria is a long way away from democracy. There's going to be a lot of trouble in Syria before it happens. And I think, meanwhile, the Israelis have been very sensible in ensuring that the military capacity, whatever was left behind by Assad, was degraded. And I think they're probably going to work on a plan, possibly with the US, on degrading the military capacity of the current regime, because it's very important to degrade the military capacity of the current regime, because this regime, frankly, and Turkey, well, I have no doubts whatsoever about Turkey. And I've been expressing myself for many years about Erdogan and his adoption of Wahhabism in a country that had rejected Wahhabism under Ataturk. And I have no doubts whatever that Turkey is playing a very, very dubious role. And I think that also needs to be looked at. And I'm quite certain that at least the United States under President Trump and the Israelis are going to make very sure that the military capacity of this regime is completely degraded in the way that Hamas was degraded. Hezbollah has been significantly degraded. I think the same thing will need to happen. Either they give up arms voluntarily or they are made to give up arms. But that is the only long-term guarantee of stability, security, and peace.
Professor Nalapat and also Ambassador Safer, thank you very much.